Did you know the average email gets just 9 seconds of attention? And in most cases, that's all the time you've got to inspire your supporters to take action. Hello, I'm Paul Taylor, Head of CRM at Just Giving, and today I'm going to take you through how to plan, build, and optimize the perfect fundraiser email, step by step. So step one is to define your goal. Figure out what it is you're trying to achieve. And plan out the most important action that you want your supporters to take. People need to know what they're expected to do and to understand why it's important that they do this. For this reason, we're going to keep things as clear, simple, and concise as possible. For example, let's say your charity has places in this year's London Marathon, and your target is for your charity place runners to collectively raise £100,000, because that will help you to train a class of mental health specialists or potentially fund a new clinical trial. If that's the case, what you want to do is lay this out in the email plainly and clearly so that people know what they're helping and feel that extra sense of pride and community, knowing that they've helped your campaign to become a success and to achieve your targets. We'll talk more about the email's content a little later in this video though. So when writing emails, it's really important to think about specifically who you're talking to and what you're saying to them, because people generally respond better when they feel like their specific needs are being met. It's helpful to customize your emails knowing the information you know about them where possible. Going back to the charity places example, for an event like London Marathon, you'll want to talk to people who have previously run the marathon for you very differently to those of your supporters who have maybe never even run a running event before. And depending on the information you've collected, you can also tailor the language and imagery of the emails based on further factors like gender, age, location, and even specific actions that you want these different groups of people to take. So now that you know what your goal is and who you're talking to, as well as how you can potentially personalize the content, it's time to build the email. We're going to build an email from scratch together. I've already put together the outlines of it. So this email is one that Just Giving sends just after someone has created their fundraising page. And I'll talk you through the methodology of how we went around building it. So you'll usually want to include a mixture of text and images. Thankfully, most email marketing platforms work in the same way, where pre-made templates can be used as a starting point that allow you to drag and drop your own content in. Our audience in this specific case is new fundraisers, so they've just created a page. First of all, we want to add an attention-grabbing subject line, because no matter how great the email is, if people aren't opening your emails, all that works for nothing. So you want to make sure that it's short and snappy, and combined with a pre-header, it should tell your supporters exactly why you're contacting them. And it's a great place to add personalization too. For example, adding their first name, or if they're already raising money for you, call out how much they've raised, or if they hit their target or they're halfway to their target, for example. Now, when you're building your actual email, you want to start off with an attention-grabbing image. So something that speaks to your objective and story. Now, this might be a photo of your beneficiaries. If it's an email about the London Marathon, you want to take a photo of previous London Marathon runners or of the event in a previous year. Or if you don't have access to photos, but you've got a design team, you can use some great colorful illustrations. But make sure that it reflects the outcomes of your campaign. The intro. So this is perhaps the most important part. Here's where we make it very clear what we want the recipient to do. And in this case, the best thing for them to do, now that they've created their page, is to share it so they can get that first donation faster. And you can make it more impactful by changing the intro based on what you know about them. So again, going back to if you're building an email for the London Marathon, you would want to change this intro text for someone who's previously ran a running event for you versus someone who's completely new to sporting types of fundraising. Now, throughout the main copy of the email, you can inject elements that help to tell your story and inform your supporters just how much they're helping by raising money for you and how important your goal is to them. Consider adding helpful resources in as well. In the case of our fundraiser, if they've never raised money before, they might have questions or want to do some more reading on how to best go about this mountain that they've effectively got to climb. So it's a great idea to include links to resources to help them learn more, like how to ask people for donations, where to share their page, and for fundraisers taking part in fitness events like the marathon, how they can connect their fitness app to their page, as well as any other tips on getting as many donations as possible. PS, Just Giving, by the way, has an entire collection of resources just for this, which you can absolutely link out to in your own comms. Now, the next step when you're building your email is to make sure it's accessible. So that means making something more usable for as many people as possible. When building an email, that includes making sure all your images have alt text relevant to their content. It means that you're using simple, easily readable colors like dark text on a white background, so making sure that the contrast between your text and the background is high. And make sure that the font is a comfortable size on both mobile and desktop. It's very easy to forget about mobile when you're building emails because most platforms tend to default to the desktop view. It's really important that you check that it works for both, because around 50% of people now view their email content on a mobile format. Now that your email's built, you need to make sure that you can tell if it's actually achieving its goal and you're tracking its success. If you're using an automated CRM platform, you'll be able to track things like how many people successfully received your email, how many opened and clicked on it as well. But that's just the beginning. You need to understand if they're going on to take the actions that you want them to. And one of the best ways to do this is to add UTMs to each URL. Now, this also shows where your top performing channels are. If you've got a campaign that you're advertising across email, paid social, organic social, you can use these UTMs to see which of these areas is driving most interest and traffic back to your website. Let's add a quick example. Using this tool, my URLs will be dynamic, so I'm just adding in a placeholder here. But if we're wanting your supporters to go to one specific page, you'd paste that URL in. For your UTM source, I'm going to add FR Lifecycle, as this tells us is traffic from this specific nurture program. You can also add things in like newsletter, Solus, and so on. There's no hard rules about what you can put in each parameters. This is all just guidelines. For UTM medium, this tends to refer to which channel the traffic's coming from. So it's quite easy for this one, it's email. And then finally for UTM campaign, if you have a specific campaign like London Marathon or some sort of Christmas campaign, you would put that campaign code or name in there. But because I want to know the specific email in our life cycles that are driving the traffic, I'm going to add that in. And then all I'm going to do is copy everything from the question mark onwards and place it at the end of my URL. And there we've got it, some bespoke tracking relevant for this specific email. Now, to check the results of these links, Google Analytics is one of the most commonly used tools, but there are a wide variety of analytics tools available. Finally, testing and sending your email. Once your email is built and looks good, always test it before sending to your subscribers. I always tend to send myself a version of the email and check on both my mobile and on desktop, so that way I can make sure that the correct formatting's applied in both formats and that the correct images are showing, because sometimes you can change out which images show on various views. For a deeper look, I recommend that you use an inbox preview tool. Email on Acid is one such tool. And what this does is it shows you exactly what your email looks like on a range of the most popular platforms. So for example, it'll look different on an iPhone versus on Android. It'll look different on Outlook versus on Gmail. These tools help you see what every one of your subscribers are going to see, because each inbox renders slightly differently, and it'll highlight any potential issues with accessibility or any potential spam-like lettering or wording that you're using. Now, once you've tested your email and you're happy with it, you're good to go. It's time to press the send button. Thank you very much for listening, and good luck building that first email.